guys, it's Ryan here, and today we're going to be continuing the Space Invaders tutorial thing. I'm not sure if I added this in the previous video, but if you didn't set the title of your frame, you can just go jframe frame equals new frame and then put the title in there, or you can make a title variable. And then you can use that anywhere else instead of just typing Space Invaders everywhere. So what we're going to be doing now is we're going to be creating the game class, which is just pretty much be like the hub for everything. Public game, and we're going to have public long ticks equals 0. Then we're also going to have public input, and you're not going to have to worry about that for a little while, but we're just going to say input equals new input. And yeah, so we're going to say public void tick, and if you remember the display, we're going to call game.tick. We create a game. We're just going to say ticks++ for now. We're going to be adding stuff to that later. And let's say public void render, graphics G. You can pretty much call these whatever you want. It's just I name my update method and my drawing method tick and render because it looks cool, and it makes me sound like I'm not a failure. Yeah, so and then we're just gonna say draw rect. And we're gonna say 0, 0, display.width, not display.width, display.height. And now, just like comment these to see if this works. So you can see that in these methods, we have nothing, and when we run this, we pretty much get nothing on the screen. But if we, in the game, this out, and then you can press Control Space, it's very useful. You can print ticks to get some results from the tick method. And then, let's say private, but public game, and you could say first under display constructor game equals new game. But for now we can say game.tick and game.renderG, and this should create a black, and it ticks. So this should create a black square, but this is the one thing I always forget. I always forget fill rect, which pretty much fills it. And then draw just is like, no, I'm not gonna fill it, I'm just gonna like outline it. I always do that. So we can say, now we're gonna go into our game, uncomment these because we know that it works. And now we're going to work on our input class, which is going to be pretty. This is a very useful class, you could say, to the game because it pretty much handles all of the user's input, like key presses, mouse movement, and info. We're just going to add key listener, mouse listener, and mouse motion listener. So whenever we move our mouse, it fires an event. So then I will just do that. You could say to every thing that we're not going to use. And then things we're going to use, we're just going to keep open. these are pretty like useless methods, the ones that I'm crossing out for most games. Unless you want a pause menu, then you would use mouse exited and mouse entered. So like when you have mouse exited, it would say like game.paused equals true, and then like it would pause the game, and then when you get back in, it'll allow you to redo the game, and that's what mouse entered does, and mouse exited is when the mouse exits the screen. So yeah. And then key pressed, key released are obvious. Key typed is a pretty weird thing. You really don't need to use those ever. Mouse dragged would be useful, but since we have mouse pressed and mouse move, we really don't need these. Pretty much when mouse moved is true and mouse pressed is true, it's mouse dragged, like you're dragging your mouse while clicking it. Really weird. Mouse clicked is supposed to be like when you tap it quickly. You could say e dot. Got off into a tangent there. Yeah. So those are what they do. Mouse released. When you release a button, mouse pressed when you press a button. But what we're going to do is we're going to make variables for all these. So we're going to say public boolean array keys equals true, or not true, equals new boolean array. Put a semicolon after that, and we're going to say key event dot last key last plus 1. So that's going to say our thing is the greatest key on it as a number plus 1, because array lengths are whatever it is are weird. They start at 1, that would be 1, but then if you they start at 1, yeah, it's weird. The lengths start at 1, but like the actual indexes, like what you use to get the stuff in the array, like if you said 0, that would be the first object in the array. Okay, and then we could say public boolean mouse 1 pressed. I doubt we're going to use mouse 2, and that's going to be equal to false. And then mouse 2 pressed equals false. We're just calling mouse 2 the mouse 2 is actually the wheel, but since we're not using that, we're referencing it as mouse 2. It's really weird. I would think mouse 1 is left click, mouse 2 is right click, and then mouse 3 is scroll thingy, whatever it's called, scroll thing. I don't know. It's going like left to right, but I think that's a little odd. So I just label it like this when I do that. And then we're just going to have public int x mx equals 0, my equals 0. And then we're going to have a constructor for input. And we're going to say keys, or for into I equals 0, I is less than keys.length, I plus plus. Then we say keys, I equals false, because pretty much when you first start, it's really not going to be very... People aren't usually going to press keys right when they start. So, yeah, and it's going to start recording as soon as, like, the program starts. It's just going to go, like, start, and then it's going to start recording. Also, there's some time in between when we initialize this and when the actual game starts. Mouse pressed, we're going to say if e is equal to, or not e dot get button that's the button we press, equals key mouse event dot button 1 mouse button 1 is equal to true, or mouse 1 pressed recall it, I think. Yeah. And then we can pretty much have like that. Else, if this is what I'm talking about, it was button 3. Let's get button. Yeah. So, all these. That's what it does. I don't know why I even went there. I was going to go off on tangents. But, not mouse 1 pressed, mouse 2 pressed. And then we're going to copy this to mouse released. Copy it to mouse released. We're going to say false and false. And it's even easier for the key pressed. Keys, key.get, key code equals true. Then we just copy that line and change it to false. And for mouse moved, it's very simple. Also, u.getx equals u.getY. So this is all easy code, but it's needed very, very much if you're going to make a game, unless you're making a game about patience where you don't do anything, which would be pretty boring. And also in our input class to test, we're going to say, this out, control space x plus comma plus y. Just going to print not x, mx, and my. Sorry, I have a cold. And we're going to sys out keys, or key event dot to get, oh no, right, e.get key char, which is basically the character, but since we can't make arrays of characters using characters, we can't do that. So we're gonna say system.out.println e.get key char plus released plus pressed, and here we're gonna sys out mouse event dot get, not mouse event, e dot get button plus released, and we're gonna say e dot get button pressed. So that's just a test. Now we're gonna say this dot add input, no, this dot add key listener. We gotta add all the listeners because we have multiple. We gotta add all the listeners. So we're just gonna paste this. Add mouse listener, not muse listener, mouse listener, and add mouse motion listener. Oh wait, no, I forgot to add it to the whatever it's called, frame. Usually have to do this. I'm not sure why it doesn't add to the frame when we do that, but you know, sometimes code doesn't work. Let's stop printing this. So when we press 1, released, pressed, released, pressed, released, press release, press released, pressed release, pressed release, pressed released, pressed released, pressed released, and then we can also say 3 pressed 3. So when you click that, it prints the button, and we can say 6 pressed 6 released H. So when you click it, it's like that, and then see all these things, and then when you move the mouse, those are the chords. Coordinates, rather, because some people are unfamiliar with the term chords. I bet one person probably is. So let's close that and remove the reference. Not the reference. Remove the these things so that we don't get spammed in the console. And yeah, so I think this video is getting a little long, so I think we're going to end there today. I hope you liked the video. If so, give it a like. If not, still give it a like. Comment, don't dislike, like, and subscribe.